Well, hello everyone. It's great to be here. I know I would much rather. I'm like all of you probably. We're all working from home, so I'm here in my guest room. And I live. My name is Patrick Tickle. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Planview. I live in Austin, Texas. It's safe to say I would much rather have done this event in person. I've been to Paris many times. Love visiting. But obviously that's not the world we're in right now. So, but it's great to see everybody virtually and have a few minutes to chat today. I was going to. I think I have one or two slides. Again, just reinforcing. All the sponsors. Thanks to all the sponsors that are helping put on the event. Again, I think Soon covered a lot of this, so I'll kind of get to my section. But I think today what I was going to spend a little bit of time on is, I'll just do a little bit of introduction on who Planview is, but the more important part is really to talk about our transformation journey as a company and really how we've shifted our entire kind of model as a company to more of a business agility process, right? And in terms of how we work. And so I think we're going to try, I'm going to try to spend 30 minutes, and I'll try to do 30 minutes of relatively slow English. I heard Soon say that I have the distinct honor of being the only English presentation in the entire conference. So I understand that's a challenge. So I'll try to talk slowly and talk about the journey we've gone through, because it's been a super exciting one, and one that I think lots of you, you may be in some version of this same journey or thinking about, and I think there's definitely things to learn from what we've done here. So a little bit about who is Planview, right? So Planview is we're an enterprise software company. We've been around for 30 years. I've been with the company for 14 as the Chief Product Officer. I'm responsible for all of our product lines and our product strategy, and a lot of our corporate strategy is a big part of kind of what I spend time on. For many years, we've been recognized as a market leader in what's called PPM, or Project Portfolio Management. But a couple of years ago, we really kicked off a new strategic direction, right, and was really expanding our vision as a company into a much broader spectrum of portfolio management and work management. And that's really what spawned, in many ways, this transformation journey that we went on. And so, today, again, some of you in France may know who Planview is, but typically we're very much associated with the upper left-hand portion of this picture, the PPM market. We just had our user conference 2 weeks ago virtually. And I think we had 1,300 people worldwide attend that conference, and many of those customers are very professional practitioners of PPM. But again, what has changed for us is not only do we now live in the world of projects, but we also very much live in the world of lean and agile, and that's been a big part, that not just our transformation in terms of who we are as a company, but also the offerings that we bring to the marketplace for our customers. I'm sure there are a lot of English words on this slide. I won't go through all of them, but I work with many of our customers, talk to lots of people who are on the journey, right, from being project-driven organizations to more agile or product-driven organizations, right? And this journey is a very important part of almost every company I talk to, right, has some version of this journey that they're on. And they're, kind of maybe moving from a very traditional project-driven model, to maybe something that's a hybrid of that feels a little more team-oriented than just project-oriented, and then aspiring, obviously, to get to, kind of business agility, agile transformation, and the world of lean portfolio management. one of our things in the marketplace is we help our customers, go through this journey, right? So not only can you leverage Planview to do traditional project portfolio management, but you can also leverage us in the same product sort of platform experience to shift right to lean portfolio management and start thinking about value streams and products in addition to maybe the way you think about initiatives and programs today. And in many ways, the culmination for us as a company on the outside, right? I'll talk about our internal transformation here in another 2 or 3 minutes. Was, again, for many, many years, people have known us as a leader in that traditional PPM, the left-hand side of this picture. But, again, recently this year, we were recognized for the first time as a clear leader in the world of Agile, right? And as you can see, we have very traditional competitors in the world of PPM, but, we're now competing with people like, Atlassian, right, in the world of enterprise Agile planning. But again, our story with our customers is how we can bring these two things together, right, and help large organizations kind of transform on their own terms, right? Transform their own transformation journeys, and kind of as they move from project-centric mentality to an agile and maybe product-centric position. We're very strong in Kanban, very strong in SAFe. I will talk more about Kanban. I think I show this data. Kanban is when we get to our internal transformation here in a second. Kanban has really become a very fast growing trend in the marketplace and really was the enabler inside of Planview for our transformation. It really was the tooling that made our transformation happen. This is super interesting data, right? Most people, obviously in the world of Agile, know about Scrum and know about Kanban, but this is Gartner data from just last year that the adoption of Scrum, right, is very, very mature. Excuse me. I work with a lot of software developers, right, for many years between here and the years I spent in Silicon Valley. We've been doing Scrum-based software development literally for decades. But that adoption of Kanban, right, and Scrumban over the last few years has really, I think, and when I literally just spent the day yesterday with one of the lead Agile analysts at Gartner, that growth in Kanban and Scrumban, that's really the indicator of agility stretching into the business, right, as opposed to stretching just into software development, right? And maybe moving outside of IT, moving out of software development, but into business agility, which is exactly how we made the transition happen inside of Planview at our own company. Okay, so that's a little bit of background on who we are. But let's talk about the journey, the transformation journey that we went on as a company, right? Well, it's always probably interesting to talk about journeys and phases, right? That's a way to kind of break it down. And we really had, I would say, 4 phases in our journey. And as you can tell, by the time we get to the end of this, it is an iterative cycle. As you guys know, in every lean or agile experience, continuous improvement is core to the journey, right? So we're never done. But I thought I would walk through each of these 4 phases that we have been through. Obviously, we're living in phase 3, but that's the ongoing phase, as I have here. So, phase 0, we created this little meme. I see a lot of organizations that say this, right? It's like, we've been agile forever. Why does everybody else not seem to get it? Or as a product company, right? Inside of software development, the software development teams and the engineering teams go, well, look, we've been agile forever. That's the Scrum data that I showed, where Scrum is, fully penetrated, right? And the development teams are kind of like, why doesn't the rest of the company understand this agile thing, right? It's a much higher kind of better way of working, right? But why does the rest of the company not do it when we've been agile forever, right? And so at Planview, like I said, for 25 years, we were a single product company, right? And relatively speaking, even though we were a fairly sizable business, a pretty straightforward, low complexity business, right? We had one product, one sales organization, one development organization. We were really aligned around a single offering as a company. But inside of product development, we had been, deploying. We had instrumented or implemented Agile for well over 10 years. For us inside development, Agile was a very Scrum-oriented methodology. Classic, all the kind of classic Scrum components. Our VP of development, who's on my team, knows Kent Beck from the earliest days of Extreme. They were roommates, I think, certainly went to college together. Kent came in and spoke to us early on about, methodology. We never went all the way to Extreme, but we were, very much a Scrum shop, and we kind of did it on our own. We didn't employ a lot of coaching. We had some limited training that I would say we did, but never really embraced, kind of a full coaching methodology. Well, when we got to the next phase, right, what happened was that, as a company, right, our market was changing and we needed to change, right? Again, lots of great customers in the world of project portfolio management, but it was clear the world of work was expanding to be broader than just projects. Agile methodologies like this conference and now increasingly lean methodologies were becoming mainstream, and that clearly that's an obvious statement. But it was a very adjacent sort of ecosystem to the world of projects, and people need to start thinking about portfolio management that encompassed both agile and traditional projects. At least many of our customers were that way. So we had to figure out how to address that, right? And for many organizations, the first part of transformation starts with how to get started, right? And sometimes it's organic, right? We look at ourselves and say, well, look, we got to make new R&D investments. We've got to make new process investments to evolve ourselves. Sometimes it's organic in terms of we're going to fund, right? So we're going to fund innovation, right? We're going to make an incremental, new investment as a business in ourselves, right? But not think of it as just evolutionary, but think of it as maybe disruptive investment inside of our own company. So it's still kind of organic. Or you think about doing that inorganically, right? You say, look, time to market, depth of domain, there's a faster way to get there that has some other challenges, but we need to go do, we're going to think about acquisition as a way to bootstrap and kick off this innovation. Well, for us, we took the inorganic path, right? And several years ago, we came together, exactly 3 years ago, almost exactly. We came together with a company called Lean-Kit. And some of you may know Lean-Kit. Lean-Kit was really a premier, Kanban, enterprise scale Kanban product, based here, based in the U.S. At the time, based in Nashville, Tennessee. And, we both looked at each other and, we had a similar product vision and came together through acquisition, right? And so, what worked in there, like in, every acquisition has its pluses and minuses, or at least strengths and challenges, right? In this particular case, the products were both great products. The Planview products and the Lean-Kit products were, true market-leading products in their own right. One of the great things going for us was there was no product overlap, right? That's in acquisitions and transformations. Sometimes, the product overlap can take years to straighten out, and we were very fortunate that we had no product and really value proposition overlap. We had a very shared and clear vision. Some of John Terry, who's the founder and one of the CEOs of Lean-Kit, who actually now lives in London, and some of you may have heard John speak. He's a pretty active evangelist for the company. When he and I first met, we had it was a very simple, clean conversation, right, about the power of what Lean-Kit was doing in the marketplace. But they needed to be able to think about portfolio management. And from my perspective, we were very deep in portfolio management, but we needed an opportunity to bring Agile into our product family. And it was very, very clear that both of us saw the combination as being, very potentially powerful. Integration when you bring companies together is always hard, but I think it kind of went okay, right? And again, the shared vision and the product vision definitely helps, right? Because people see the opportunity. And then just culturally, like M&A is, always a cultural endeavor, right? Nashville, Tennessee, and Austin, Texas are actually kind of very similar cities, right? I would say psychographics, demographics, political, like on many dimensions. Actually, Nashville and Austin are very, very like-minded places, which just makes the people. We had a lot of synergies and good relationships between the people that came together between Planview and Lean-Kit. Now, places where we struggled, right? We had cultural inconsistencies. I mean, Lean-Kit was a fundamentally, top to bottom lean organization, right? And Planview, we weren't necessarily a project organization, but we were a much more traditional organization. We had not adopted, lean and agile principles to how we ran our business. And although we aspired to do that early on, we were not there, right? And that was a big challenge, right, to kind of move in that direction. We had terminology things right out of the gate. And I can remember vividly talking about the concept of resource management, which is so, it's so pivotal to the world of PPM, but obviously is nothing, is almost an anathema in the world of Agile, and we had to wrestle through kind of compromising on those kinds of key pieces of language. I think early on we thought product would just be the answer. Like, hey, these are two great products. They'll just sort of, they will sell themselves, right? And but we realized, right, that we could market and sell. We had to change the way that we thought about engaging with the market and our customers as these two things came together. We had to, customers had different expectations. From an agile organization or for the Lean-Kit people, a portfolio management organization than they had before. And we struggled in that first year really about I would say the operating philosophies of how Lean-Kit thought about things and how Planview thought about things. Neither one was necessarily right or wrong, but they were just very different. And that made it a challenge in phase one. In phase two, right, that's when things started. Obviously, we started to bring the companies, I think, much more together, right? And I use the term, the title from the title of my presentation is about rewiring, right? And I tend to use the word rewire, which I'm not sure how. Hopefully, I don't know what the translation in French is for rewire, but I use that analogy most of the time more than use the word transformation. I think transformation is kind of an overused word, and transformation sort of, I think, alludes to the idea that you're here at this moment and somehow you get over here, right? And I think rewiring, is really what we went through as a company, right? Because we had to take all of our people, right? We had to rethink, we had to reconnect, parts of our brain to think differently, about where we were going as a company. And really started by pushing on the first value stream that we moved to a business agility metaphor, right? So we did a lot of training, right? John, I've done this webcast in the past with John Terry. John is a certified safe trainer. He's probably trained in excess of 300, maybe 400 people inside of our company on the SAFE framework. We invested in that training. We used to do that training in person. Much of you, we probably learned now that we can actually pretty effectively do that training virtually. I think this is a big thing. We, not only did the Lean-Kit team join, Planview, but we started hiring key employees in key positions, outside of the Lean-Kit team, but in what was the traditional Planview team, right? And we really looked to hire agile first employees, right? So, we have a lot of employees now who came from Rally or came from version 1 or came from CA, right? Places where they were agile first, and we infused those people into the Planview operations to augment all the people that were on the Lean-Kit team. And that kind of infusion of new DNA, right, was, I think, a huge part of accelerating, quote, our rewiring. We instituted PI planning. That's probably, from a process perspective, the single most important thing that we did was started driving the PI planning, the program increment planning model into the company. We started actually in a purely business-oriented value stream, our go-to-market value stream, really where our marketing and sales people come together, that kind of go-to-market motion. That was the first place we started. So PI planning was originally sponsored by myself, our chief marketing officer, and our head of sales, right? That was the value stream that we went after. We made a big commitment to coaching, right? So like I said, in our phase 0, we kind of learned Scrum on our own. In this phase, we really committed to professional internal coaching, and everybody in our company knows who Coach Steve is. Steve's really, but again, it's not Scrum team level coaching, right? It's really PI planning level process coaching that that Steve has been invaluable to us as an organization. We thought about, I will give, we did question, in this phase, a lot of old standing assumptions, right? Again, I don't expect that all of you followed Planview, but we rebranded the company, right? New corporate identity, new logo. We had to signal to ourselves as much as to the marketplace that we were thinking about ourselves differently. We had deeply, as a software company, we had deeply entrenched sort of operational artifacts. One of which, when you're a software company, the database that your your salespeople use to demonstrate your software, that's a big investment that you make over years and years and years. And it was frankly very deep, right, in project mentality, and not very deep in Agile, right? And I think in phase 1 we tried to reconfigure that. We figured out in phase 2 that we had to throw it away, and we had to start from scratch and kind of rebuild that demonstration environment from scratch to be Agile first and support projects. And that was a huge, that was actually a very, very large change agent in our whole journey, right? And then I will say we were committed. We really stuck with it, even when PI planning felt in the early phases as a super hard thing to do. It felt like a super deep time investment, to put 50 people in a room for 3 or 4 days. We actually stuck with it, right? And those of you who've done PI planning know that the first versions of it are usually fairly painful, but we worked through that and got to a place where it's been super effective for us. And frankly, in this COVID environment, I'm not really sure how we would run our company if we didn't have that PI kind of planning process in place, which I can talk about a little bit more later. Where we struggled, we put all this work in, but it was only into one value stream, right? And as a company, we have multiple value streams, so we were getting better in one place, but not really across the board. I think we still kind of operated a little bit in an opt-in mentality across all of our employees, right? So certain employees and certain organizations, were embracing the Agile mindset. Other parts of the company and other value streams, could kind of keep doing what they're doing, right? And to get to the next phase of transformation, that was going to have to be more pervasive. We had places where incentives were misaligned, right? Again, we were moving from kind of maybe some individual incentives to more team incentives. We had some key leaders, right, that were not aligned with the transformation, right? I tell you, we had a very effective and strong executive member of the executive team who was doing a lot of things right, but as we went through this transformation, he just never clicked with us moving through this business agility transformation, and we ultimately made a change and kind of both moved on because it just the leadership component of it was so important, right? And we've done a great job at, I would say, the team level and the team of teams level, but in this phase, we really still weren't at the executive across the board, right? At the executive level of the company, we weren't necessarily implementing, I would say, Agile planning, right? So phase 3, which is where we are now, right? So now we're iterating, and we've hit more of a critical mass across multiple value streams. Is that we've pushed PI planning. Actually, since this presentation was built a few months ago, we've now implemented PI planning across all 3 of our value streams. So our 3 value streams as a company are go-to-market, how we engage with prospects and customers, the products that we build, so the product experience, and then the kind of customer success dimension, right? So how we implement our products, how we support our customers, and what that process looks like. We've now instituted PI planning across all three of our value streams, and that's a big challenge, or a big change for us and a huge opportunity. We've rolled out more training across the company. We've added more coaching capacity. We've taken some, and frankly, some existing Planview employees have converted and changed their careers into becoming coaches, and I think that is excellent. And then, we've had much more of an opt-in shift, right? Employees across the board are actually now seeing this as a lifting kind of capability, and becoming a much better, a better process for how we work, but now across the whole company. Hold on, see, there you are. We're home, and Slack is calling, so I just need to type one quick moment there, and then now where we are from an improvement perspective, it's we're maintaining momentum on this whole planning in our virtual mode. We actually started our third value stream in virtual, which I think we were all surprised at how well that went, but it continues to work extremely well. That's the customer success value stream, that third value stream that we just brought online and again during the pandemic work from home environment. Our next steps are going to really be to think about company-wide PI planning. I would say we did a spike of that this summer with our executive team that I think we'll be able to build on as we go into next year. And then, continuing to, we just got to keep training and enabling the company and building deeper and deeper DNA on this whole topic. So, a big part of this is putting our solution to work, right? And this is what we built, for our customers. But it's also now how we leverage it internally. And we really do think about, all these layers, right? We think about lean portfolio management at the top of the process, how we fund teams and we set strategic priority. Agile program management is really, I think, that is the center of PI planning, right? That is where teams of teams come together. It's where we coordinate work at the value stream level, where we prioritize every 10 weeks and set capacity, right? And understand capacity. And then obviously at the next level down, we've leveraged Kanban as our tool for business agility. But our software teams, we have software teams in Jira that are running, that are doing Scrum, right? But again, we bring teams of teams together in Kanban, right? So why is this so relevant, right? We all know this picture. We're kind of in one of these right now, right? We're all living in these kinds of meetings every day. And we've now lived it, through, in our words, through multiple program increments, right? I think we're now in our third PI, this is our third 10-week segment since we've all started working from home. And, I watch the media, I listen to, other software vendors talk, I talk to our customers, and a lot of this work is, obviously we live in messaging systems and we live in video, just like we are now, right? And I don't know if I'm not sure what the marketing message for Slack is in France, but in the United States, they talk about Slack as the place where work gets done, right? And I kind of I'm a little bit of a joke, right? I mean, I live in Slack all day long. A second ago, as I commented, I had to hop over to Slack. I'm a loyal Slack user, and we use Zoom all day long in the world we live in. But the one thing about Slack that I think is, pretty much true is there's not a lot of work that gets done in Slack, right? There's a lot that goes on in Slack, and there's a lot of talking, and there's a lot of communication, which is super important in the model we're in right now. But I don't really believe that what happens in Slack I would call to be work, right? In terms of kind of moving our strategy forward. So we really believe that in the world we're in today, right? The piece that every organization I speak to and how we run our company now that we have been through this rewire, now that we've transformed ourselves, and really this PI planning layer that is now core to how we run our business, is this planning, right? And it's that Kanban view of, some people call it agile program management. Sometimes people call it portfolio Kanban. It's the view of work, priority, and capacity at the team of teams level, at the value stream level, right? And when we run, I think the next slide might show this, right? I took this screenshot from last week, right? We were doing PI planning for one of our product lines. And here we are, right? We're in PI planning, and we're in Zoom. I didn't take the screenshot of Slack, but we are in Slack channels. But we are leveraging Lean Kit, right, at that team of teams layer, and literally building our plan, right? And we're building that plan every 10 weeks. And then there are team level boards. There are teams in Jira. We actually have teams in other tools that we use, like Project Place. But that's all coordinated in this PI planning process and the team of teams layer in Lean Kit. And it really has transformed with all three of these pieces in place. We may miss the social interactions of being together in the office. But in this remote model, we are literally running our business with almost, I would say, little to no process interruption, because this process, I think, is so built for the world and the environment that we're living in now, where, again, we're virtual. We need lightweight ways of planning. We need to be iteratively planning, and constantly in a lightweight, rapid, fast way. And I think that has been the key to our own success, but also, frankly, what we partner with our customers to bring to life as well. So overall, right, in terms of our transformation, right, and some of these things, I'm sure are, you can probably hear many speakers talk about, right, but the success factors, a clear vision of where we were going, right? I know that's an easy thing to say, but when you do have that clear vision on where you're going, it creates so much momentum to get to the place where you're trying to rewire yourself into. You have to have a trusted core of change agents, right? One person can't drive change. Two people can't drive change. But if you can put together, 10 or 20 trusted change agents, you can move a large organization, especially at the front end of a process, by having those, true, empowered change agents that are on strategy and then completely bought into the vision and working that vision every day. New DNA, right? I will tell you, I think, it would have been super hard for Planview to make this transformation happen just on our own, right? And whether that new DNA is through acquisition with a bunch of great employees and great product from Lean Kit, but also those incremental hires that we made throughout the rest of the organization, all that new DNA, is kind of the next wheel. You have that trusted core of change agents, and then you kind of put around those change agents, the next, circle of DNA, and that continues to drive change. Instrumenting and instituting value streams and PI planning, right? You've hopefully picked up on that, but those operationally, that's where the change really happened, right? And instituting big room planning, instituting what now virtual, big room planning, but that idea of operationalizing a value stream and then using PI planning as the process for how we again align strategy to delivery on an every 10-week basis has completely changed the way we run our company. And then train and coach, right? I know it's easy to kind of sometimes to marginalize that part of the equation, but we'd be nowhere without our coaches, right? And the coaches are such a huge positive impact. And when you're going through change, right, it's important to have coaches so people's relationship with their managers is different than their relationships with their coaches, right? And the ability to have a trusted coach to work through these process changes and process maturity, and not just your manager, is, I think, a vital component to making the transformation and the rewire happen. And then it's passion and persistence, right? You have to be. It takes hard work, and you've got to have strong leadership, great team leads, great managers in the middle who are all committed to the change, right? And that even when it gets hard, they stick to their guns, and we keep driving forward. So that's kind of the story. I think as soon said, I would try to finish up so we'd have a little bit of time for question and answer, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's been it's probably been for us in total, a 3-year journey from the day we acquired, from the day Lean Kit and Planview came together. The first year, that phase 0 was kind of like, we were kind of bumping our heads. The last 2 years have been where this all really accelerated for us. And it's been a super, not just super rewarding, but it's been a great journey also for our business, right? And so that's kind of that's what I was hoping, that's what I plan to share, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you very much, Patrick. So the question is, what was the most important problem you faced during the transformation, and how your team solved or mitigated?
I think probably the hardest problem, when I think back about it, when we had the misalignment in leadership at the executive level. So I alluded to, we had one of our top executives in the company, was struggling to, kind of, buy in and embrace the journey, right? And, I think that, it's always a hard challenge, right, to make changes at the leadership level of your company. But I think, we were not making the progress we wanted to make, and it literally came down to we felt like we weren't going to make that progress without a change in one of the key leaders in that first go-to-market value stream that we operationalized, and that's a hard change. We really put the process and the transformation ahead of leadership, right? And that was a challenging moment in the whole process, but it was the right thing to
do. Next question. How many coaches were part of the transformation?
Yeah, I think we're to the point now where we probably have, 3 coaches across the company, and we have 750 employees. Well, maybe I'll say three and a half coaches, right? So John Terry has sort of been a coach for the whole company. Coach Steve really has coached us through the go-to-market value stream. When we brought in the product value stream, we actually had a long-time Planview employee who's a release manager, who's had a career change. So she's now a dedicated coach for our product value stream. And then on the customer success value stream, I think that one we're just ramping up. So there's a couple different employees that I think are stepping into the coaching opportunity there. But so today I'd say we have about 3.5 coaches across the whole company.
So another question from Guy the Nadayak. How many ART do you have, and how many people are involved?
Yeah, so I would say that we, our value streams are almost equivalent to an ART, right? And so each one of those is roughly, I guess inside a product. Maybe inside of the product value stream is more accurate to say we probably have 2 ARTs, right? And each ART is roughly 75 people. Inside of the go-to-market stream, we have probably 3, I don't know, I would call them small ARTs, but we have 3 primary kind of ARTs inside of the go-to-market value stream. Each one of those is probably they're smaller ARTs, right? So they're probably more on the order of 25 people, and then the customer success value stream is just sort of ramping up.
Next question from Arnaud. What are the benefits of Agile in Planview? More frequent product delivery, better value delivery, ability to stop faster a new functionality product, better engagement satisfaction from your employee?
Yeah, all of the above. No, but I would say, certainly on the product side, right? And again, all of our product development teams had been shifted to some version of Agile for a long time, right? So all the benefits of sort of incremental product delivery and that kind of stuff, we've benefited from. Again, we're not perfect, but we've benefited from that for a long time. I think on the business side, like on the go-to-market value stream. I think it's probably maybe the two last points that you made. I know it sounds very agile, but our ability to pivot, right, is absolutely so much faster and more aligned, right? I mean, when we go to PI planning, and if we pivot in PI planning, for the next 10 weeks, the teams are aligned and we can pivot, so much more quickly than we ever could before because of the PI planning process. And then, I do think employee engagement, employee satisfaction, the sense of team, right? I'd say just overall alignment, right? I think every employee feels closer to our strategic direction. Because again, when we put 50 or 60 people in a room for 4 days, which includes myself, includes leadership, through the team level, that creates I think a better experience for every employee. So yeah, I'd say the ability to pivot, and then kind of coherency of strategy, but also employee engagement are really big positives.
Okay. Another question of Arnaud. How do you manage to recruit only great employees?
Well, every organization, like I'm sure we don't always recruit great employees, right? But I will say that, I think a big part of, we're fortunate, right, that there are a lot of passionate people about the world of Agile, right? And there aren't that many. There aren't that many best of breed companies, that really live this, all day long, and not only live it internally, but also look to take it to our customers, right? So I think a lot of really great, employees around the world who are committed to the world of Agile, but also also committed to the world of portfolio management. We're the largest scale independent company that is committed to that domain, right? And so I think it's we've turned out to be an attractive place for people who are personally committed to those domains to come work, right? Because it's all we do, right? And our whole company is about those things. And so we have a pretty concise vision. And for people who are committed to the world of Agile or committed to the world of portfolio management, coming to Planview is a place where they can, really live that vision, every day, right? And I think that's, a big part of it.
Okay. Question from Isabel. What is your way to work with a customer to implement Planview?
Well, we have, that really is that customer success value stream, right? That I alluded to is the last value stream that we're bringing into the PI planning process. So whether that's the entire, and again, lots of companies are thinking about this, and we're the same way, right? What does the end-to-end customer experience look like? And that's from everyone who touches a customer at the beginning of their journey with Planview, all the way down to how we implement, help our customers implement our tools, and then obviously even the customer support experience, right? So, the world of customer experience is a big domain these days, right? And I think many of us spend a lot of time thinking about it. I will say that one of the big changes, right, that we're continuing to transform ourselves through, right, is in the world of software, right? All of our products are software as a service, right? But the customer experience for a service is always very different than the customer experience for a product, right? And that's been a big transformation, ongoing transformation. I think for lots of companies, right? But it's that service mentality versus kind of the ship a product mentality.
Another question from Arnaud. Do you measure the benefit? What are your KPIs?
Yeah. So, one of the things about, I think, so yes. And, and there's KPIs at all the different levels of the value streams. I think that, obviously we think about, successful customer, our ultimate KPIs that frankly that we talk about all the time is, are we growing the business, and are we retaining customers? That's that service mentality, right? When it's time for the customer to sign up to re-sign up for the next phase of their partnership with Planview, that's an important moment, right? So the big KPIs in many ways are really about growth and kind of customer retention, right? Those KPIs roll down through all of our value streams. On the success side, a lot of the KPIs are much more retention oriented. On the go-to-market side, we get into a lot more detail, a lot more KPIs on kind of growth metrics, right? And then on the product side, it's about velocity and delivery and quality and those kinds of things. So again, I'm sure lots of details, but they do all roll up into each one of those three value streams, which really kind of roll up to the big KPIs for the business about growth and customer success.
A question from Guy. In which areas have you customized or adapted the SAFe framework, role processes, and why?
Yeah, so I think we really, from a SAFe perspective, we had a fair amount of maturity at the team level, right? So it's really the agile program management team of teams layer, right? That's where we put the most work, and again, Coach Steve is a SAFe certified, coach. And I think that's an interesting question. I don't know if I know from a methodology perspective, what we have customized. I think we've tried to stay pretty true to the methodology. We're not as deep, I would say, at the lean portfolio management level. I mean, we do LPM. We have an LPM process, which I think is more about strategic alignment, so it's more of the strategy initiatives, as opposed to, we have not fully implemented, like, for example, lean budgeting. But again, our financials as a company are probably a little more straightforward. But the meat of what we've implemented is really, again, at the middle, in that team of teams layer. And I think we've been pretty consistent with the methodology.
I was wondering, when you talk about your different phases, what was the time lapse?
Yeah. So so at the end I said basically it would be 3 years from zero to where we are today, right? And and probably phase 0 was year 1, right? Phase 1 was probably most of year 2, right? And then once we got to the iterative loop, right? Phase 3 and phase 0 was year 1. Phase 1 would have been year 2. And then kind of, I would say the last 18 months have probably been phases 1 and 2, where we're now in iteration.
Also, I also heard that you got put a really good point on training.
Yes.
And I was interested to know what kind of training did you provide to the employees?
Yeah, so I think we started with, again, we were lucky that, but also I think this is another best practice, right? So John Terry, who I mentioned his name a few times, John became a certified SAFe trainer, right? So we were able to train a lot of employees just on the basic SAFe, the base SAFe coursework, without, cost effectively, So I think that's actually an interesting angle to think about. So if you can have a SAFe trainer as an employee, right, who can do SAFe training without necessarily paying for every employee, to go through an external training class, that allowed us to just create a large baseline of people who were trained on SAFe. And John did an amazing job, literally coaching, hundreds of people across the company on the principles of SAFe. Then our coaches, then they really focused on PI planning and process improvement, in the actual operations day to day. So our coaches don't really spend time doing methodology training, at least at the basics, at the fundamentals of SAFe. Our coaches are in the value stream, helping us improve and put the process to work and get better, with every PI and in our interim steps in the processes while we're in the PI.
So did you give training such as Kanban or Scrum or things like that, or is it something that you already had?
Yeah, I think I don't think that we didn't do any Scrum training because, again, we were focused primarily on sort of business agility, and we really implemented Kanban. We probably had the benefit, because Lean Kit was so deep in, just all the Lean Kit employees were so deep in Kanban, right? That we probably effectively got a lot of training, from just the Lean Kit employees on Lean Kit at the team level of Kanban. So we never really did formal Kanban training, right? But I also think that's one of the, but John Terry and a lot of the senior thought leaders at Lean Kit, probably gave us a lot of best practices on Kanban early on. All right. Well, thank you very much. It was great. It was great talking to you, and hopefully next time we do this, I can come to Paris.